Welcome to the RotoWire Prospect Podcast. I'm your host, James Anderson. Roto15 at checkout for 15% off any RotoWire product right now. My guest today is Ross Jensen from Scout the Stat Line. And I think you guys are going to dig this show because Ross and I are essentially going to go back and forth nominating who we think the best prospects are who have not debuted in the majors. So, these are the cream of the crop for dynasty leagues right now. They don't have any blemishes of struggles at the big league level. A lot of these guys are, 18, 19, 20 years old. So this is the fun stuff here. And I feel like I've done so many episodes lately where we're talking about breakout guys and pop-up guys, but I feel like I don't even talk about these sort of like elite guys maybe as much as I should. So this is going to be fun. And the format is, like I said, we're going to go back and forth sort of nominating who we think the best prospect is that we haven't talked about yet. And Ross, as my guest, you get to go first, man.
Hey, all right. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking about the best prospects the most, of course. All right, so I'm starting. I got to go with the obvious answer. I think a lot of people are now naming this person as the number one overall prospect. I saw Baseball America just redid their top 100, and they put this person above Roki Sasaki. I am, of course, talking about Roman Anthony. I think it's a pretty obvious pick. He's got a lot of, he kind of came up as a guy that had a reputation for raw talent, and I think he's shown to be a lot more refined. He does a great job getting on base, great plate approach. He's got a lot of power. I think he's got more speed than you might think by looking at him. He looks athletic, so I'm not saying that, but he looks like he's kind of a masher too. I think he's going to have pretty good power at the major league level. At Scout the Stat Line, we have him projected at peak for 22 home runs, and I think that's selling him short. I think there's easy 30 home run power here down the road. So, and 13 stolen base, a little on the lower side, but he's been kind of flip-flopping between the number one and number two spot with one other guy that we're probably going to talk about later.
Yeah, definitely the sort of obvious pick there, and especially just how good Anthony's been again this year. Not surprising at all, but he certainly has matched expectations so far. One fun stat I dug up: 0 infield fly balls so far for Roman Anthony this year. Also, his the Sports Info Solutions hard hit data that we have at rotowire.com, 45.7% hard hit rate for Roman Anthony and a 7.4% soft hit rate. And that's basically as good as you'll see from any aged hitter at any level, like even like a 27-year-old big leaguer rehabbing. Like that's the type of stuff you would see. So Roman Anthony really can't nitpick anything. We might get to some guys where you could talk yourself into them having a higher power ceiling or a higher stolen base ceiling. But he's a great, well-rounded mix of all of it. Plus he's going to be the first one of these guys to debut, I would imagine. Do you have any, or go ahead.
That's a good question. When do you think that's going to be? I feel like the Red Sox need to call him up already.
I do too. I think the move that I've sort of been assuming is sort of how they get him in is by moving Cedar Rafaela to sort of a fourth outfielder role. But I understand that's not something most teams would want to do. I think most teams would want to just keep developing Rafaela as an everyday player. So I understand the challenge there, but he's definitely ready. I don't, like the next sort of service time manipulation reason to hold him down would be for Super 2, which would be basically another month, another 3 to 4 weeks, they'd have to hold him down for Super 2 reasons. I mean, that would really be pinching pennies for a team like the Red Sox and a player like Anthony. But, I think it'd be strange to me if he was still down in like a month from now, or like we get done with the first week of June. If Anthony's still down, that would be surprising. But I kind of think it'll work itself out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion he ought to be up right now. If Red Sox front office is listening, I hope they take my advice and bring him up. And I'm waiting for him in fantasy too. So come on.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Anthony in the big leagues for some teams as well. Okay, so I will nominate the second prospect here. I'm going to go with the guy that I had ranked number 1 coming into the season, although I do think there are 2 to 3 more hitters that you could easily bring up here second. But Sebastian Walcott of the Rangers doesn't have the loudest stat line of the guys we're going to talk about necessarily, but he is, I think, just doing as good as could have been expected as the second youngest player at AA. Ethan Salas is the youngest player at AA, but he's barely played. He wasn't that good. The next youngest player after those two is Nelson Rada, who is like 7 months older than Walcott. So if not for Ethan Salas, Walcott would be far and away the youngest player at AA, and the youngest pitchers at AA are all a couple years older than Walcott and Salas. But he's still been well above league average. I've really been impressed with Walcott's command of the zone at AA as such a young player. I wouldn't have been surprised if the strikeout rate had been pushing 27, 28% at this point in the year, and then it maybe went down from there, but down to 22% already, pushing a 14% walk rate. And the over the fence power, I guess, is maybe the one thing that has shown up the least so far, but that's the thing that I think most people were most confident in coming into the year. So no real complaints here from Walcott. And if you can acquire him now in Dynasty, I think it's a really, really great time to do so, just because that slash line just doesn't jump off the page necessarily, but still easily a top 5 prospect for me, and comfortable bringing him up here second.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I've kind of got a reputation of being a low man on Walcott a little bit, but it's mostly just because I'm waiting for the stats to kind of catch up to the talent, I guess. The tools are obviously there. I think you're spot on. It's not like the power is going to come. That's the one thing that is the biggest question mark, I think, right now. But I think it's going to show up. The only reluctance I really have with him is the hit tool as good as some other players that are top 10 guys. It's maybe the one question mark, but you're right. Like, great plate discipline, like his age for level metrics are, I mean, unquestionable, super young, and he's holding his own. I think for a guy that came in with sort of a power first reputation, he's held his own at every level he's played at, despite, being very advanced. So I think it's a great pick. I'm a little lower on him. I've got him around the 20 range, which I think a lot of people look twice at. So, but he is a super interesting talent, and I hope he by far exceeds my expectations.
Well, yeah, I mean, you probably knew I was going to bring him up here before you, if you had him ranked down there. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any concerns about the power really. I would still just think when we start comparing him to some of these other guys, I would think the potential differentiator would be the hit tool for me. I think the power is going to be up there, if not better than a lot of the guys we're going to talk about with Walcott, just based on the exit velocities, the frame. I mean, like, if you want to talk about like a physical comp, like I think Fernando Tatis is just super obvious on Walcott. May not be the exact same type of player. I think he could end up being very similar, but the power I'm not worried about is just kind of like, is he a like 25 steal guy or a 35 steal guy? Is he a 265 hitter or a 285 hitter? Like, that's all kind of up in the air to me, but the power, like I think he's a 30 homer guy, and maybe even just kind of a comfortably a 30 homer guy at peak, which we're 3-4 years away from him probably entering his peak.
Yeah, absolutely agreed with that. I'm looking at STS projections, and this is one of the reasons I'm maybe a little bit lower on him, is because they've got him a little bit lower, or the model has him a little bit lower. But I mean, the power, he's going to exceed the power projection that they've got for him currently. I think that's pretty easy to tell. I think Fernando Tatis is a pretty cool comp, and if I recall correctly, I think he was 18 in AA. So they have the similar sort of age level factor thing going on as well. Very toolsy. I think it's a good solid pick.
Well, now I've delayed us. Well, actually, it's like they are. Just checking out Tatis. Yeah, it's the exact same age level because they both got like a week's worth of games as 18-year-olds that year before, and then had their age 19 year at AA. I don't expect Walcott to be up in 90 after 90 games at AA this year, but yeah, right on that same trajectory as Tatis. But I won't delay you any further. Who is the third prospect you'd like to talk about, Ross?
Well, before I go there, if I remember correctly, though, he really struggled in his start to AA, like a lot worse than we're seeing Walcott struggle right now. And then all of a sudden it clicked, and it was, game over from there. So, okay, number 3 for me, not to delay this any longer. I'm going to go with Leo Vries. I think he is the guy that I've pegged to be the next number 1 after Roman Anthony. I really like what I'm seeing with him. Very similar in the age level sort of quadrant as Walcott. Really young for high A, and like it started coming around. I think it was a little slow start to last season, but he started picking it up, and he was still doing a lot of the little things like getting on base to kind of keep him afloat even through those struggling periods. Now all of a sudden the power's showing up a little bit more than it was last year. He's hitting really well. His slash line currently is 309. Oh, this might be a little dated. I've got 309, 400, 593. 4 home runs. It's pretty incredible. Almost walking as much as he's striking out. So I think he's the guy that I think is going to be the next number 1 personally.
Yeah, he was the third guy on my list, so I figured you were going to bring him up, and rightly so. Really, just kind of a flawless stat line at high A. Not really anything I would say he has to work on. I think he definitely has. I would project him to have the better hit tool than Walcott. And I just think Walcott's going to hit for more power and steal more bases. But, DeVries, I think he will have at least 1 or 2 seasons where it's over 20 homers and over 20 steals in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think DeVries is ever going to go 30-30. And I think Walcott probably will, but maybe DeVries will as well. Like, it's just so hard to project guys this age, like how much they're going to run when they're 24, 25, because I wouldn't expect the 30 homer power to necessarily be there till he's like 23, 24. But maybe it will be. Like Jackson Merrill, things happen really fast for him. So
yeah.
I mean, he's like, I know you're lower on Walcott than I am, but like for me, like of Walcott, Anthony, DeVries, we're talking about 3 like elite dynasty prospects here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up exactly why I probably prefer Vries, and it's mostly just because of the hit tool. I have a bias for the hit tool over, the flashy power and speed. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I used to be probably more hit tool over everything than I am now. But yeah, it's you can't really go wrong with that approach. I think it's weird because like I completely missed on like Aaron Judge, and I obviously had Tatis as a top 10 prospect, but I missed on like I should have had him like at number 1, and I didn't have at number 1 because I was just worried with both those guys about the strikeouts. So like I feel like I'm constantly just trying to sort of slightly evolve like how can I make sure I try to like not miss on that type of player while also valuing the hit tool. So it's just it's a lot of different ways to go about it, I think. But with these guys, like they're really, really good prospects. It's really tough to find fault in what they're doing, especially when you factor in the age level with like Walcott and Vries.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with you completely. I was kind of a whiff on both of those guys too. I think the big thing for me with Judge was just that he never had those age level factors in his favor, and those are the guys I tend to miss more. Because I weigh that so heavily that a guy like him, he was a little bit older, and he was slugging like 450. So I just don't think that there was any way to really predict that unless you were really heavily weighing, in his case, the physical attributes. Obviously, he's a monster. There are just some guys I just think there is no way you're going to get. Tatis is a little different story because I think he was a little more predictable. I tend to shy away from guys when they start showing some of their warts, and that's what I was saying. Like we saw that double A a little bit, and I got a little flighty like immediately, and I didn't recover quick enough when he recovered, which was probably my error in judgment with him.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's always examples to learn from, but I mean, you're not going to be able to get everyone, right? So you don't want to just keep spinning your wheels. So if you're shifting your approach, I feel like it should be very sort of slight adjustments here and there.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Okay, so Ross first nominated Roman Anthony. Then I threw out Sebastian Walcott of the Rangers, and he threw out Leo Vries of the Padres. So now we're looking for our 4th best non-debuted prospect. And Ross, I'm going to say Jesus Mate of the Milwaukee Brewers. Obviously came in, he's probably been talked about as much, if not more, than any of the guys we're going to talk about on the episode today, on podcasts of mine from the past like 6 to 10 months or so. But he was the most hyped prospect ever coming out of the Dominican Summer League without ever playing in another league besides the DSL. And I just think it's been a pretty perfect debut for him in the United States and in full season ball. And he's slashing 294, 400, 459. Good for 40% better than league average, 21% strikeout rate, 13% walk rate. Just the 3 home runs in 21 games, even though he's still 17 years old. But, when you watch Mate, like you're not worried about the power. And 9 for 11 on stolen bases in 21 games. So, he's awesome. I still think we're talking about just absolute blue chip elite prospects here with Jesus Mate.
Yeah, I'm normally a fade with DSL guys coming over because we've just not seen many of them really translate at the level of hype that they receive when they first come over. And that's one of those errors in judgment for me with Made. I've course corrected. He's obviously a very elite prospect, and I think you're right on the money. The power is pretty obvious when you just see him play. Like he's got elite bat speed, and I think that 3 home runs probably sells him a little bit short. I saw him hit a game winner. You might have seen this clip. But that was off the fence. He didn't hit it over the fence.
Right.
But
Yep.
it didn't matter.
It went down as a single.
It went down as a single. Exactly. It's a good point. But you could see he knew as soon as he touched the ball, like, he got enough of it to bring the run in, and that's all that mattered. So I think there's more to him than even the stat line belies, but even the stat line looks pretty good. So it's hard to really have any issues with what we're seeing. I now view him as a top 10 prospect, bar none. I think number 5 is a fine placement for him. And I just want to touch on the Carolina Mudcats, the team he plays for. That is a stacked team, stacked. And because I have such a bias for some of these guys, we're probably going to name some more. So I won't go into more detail on that, but I like that selection.
Yes. So that was the 4th selection, Jesus Made. So we've nominated 4 really blue chip dynasty prospects here, and Roman Anthony, Sebastian Walcott, Leo Vries, Jesus Made. Ross, where are you going to go for the 5th guy?
Okay, so I'm going to go with a guy who I know last season when we did the podcast, you had said you thought this would be the next number 1 prospect. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I'm talking about Walker Jenkins. I think he is, since that podcast, I think he's done everything that he really needs to do to show that he's that elite level prospect. Of course, he's had some injury issues this year, so we haven't really gotten to see much of him. I still believe that elite talent is there. I think there's more power than what we've seen in the stats, at least with Jenkins. And so I think there's absolutely still a chance, even though he's not my favorite, for him to be that number 1 guy that you wanted him to be. So Walker Jenkins, I think he's excellent. Last year, just a tidbit to point out, he walked more than he struck out. So he's clearly got a great eye and elite plate approach. That's something I always like to pick up on with prospects too. So Walker Jenkins, that's my guy.
Yeah. He was definitely going to come up on the episode. I think I wouldn't have gone to him quite this early just because of the injuries, and he's probably going to have a second straight season here with fewer than 75 full season games played. Last year was a hamstring. This year it's a sprained ankle that's so bad that he had an injection in it. I'm not a doctor. That just seems like a pretty bad ankle sprain. And it's just kind of lingering, and it's almost like they don't know what it is or how to fix it. And you have sort of the ghosts of elite Twins prospects past sort of sitting there as reminders in Buxton and Royce Lewis. And it's just it's got me kind of like 10 to 15% lower on Jenkins, I think, for Dynasty than I was before spring training, just because he is a big guy. Like, he's one of those guys where he could have been a football player, and he's gonna probably just keep getting bigger. Like, he's just got one of those big frames. So the lower body issues, they could start to sort of snowball a little bit. But baseball, just evaluating him as a prospect, ignoring the injuries, turning the injuries off, I think he absolutely would be the guy here for me. If it weren't for those injury issues. I agree with everything you said. Just it's so like he's just the epitome of like a projectable high school hitter where the power, you just see it coming a mile away, like because of how good he is. as a hitter and just the frame and the strength and everything. But yeah, I have a little bit of a worry here that he keeps missing time. He's a big guy. But yeah, I've got no objections to it from just a prospect evaluation standpoint, ignoring the injuries.
I mean, I think those are all really valid points. I mean, you have to wonder at what point like it becomes a theme, and we've seen it before with other guys. Like one of the experiences I've had though, where I feel like I've kind of learned from it was with Juan Soto, because I thought he was just perpetually hurt, as a prospect, and that was my one concern with him coming up. And he's my favorite player, in the major leagues. I love the way he plays the game and approaches it. So I was clearly mistaken on that because he's been very healthy ever since. So I guess on one hand, like I totally agree and get that theme. And then on the other, I'm kind of like reminded of that, like don't sleep on a guy because the next 10 years might be completely healthy. It's just an odd thing. It's hard to predict injuries one way or the other, what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. And especially with a young hitter like this, compared, like if it was just a young pitcher and it just was something kept happening with his elbow, of course we would be more concerned. There's so many examples on both sides of the ledger, but Walker Jenkins, very talented prospect. So that's 5. We've nominated 5 prospects so far who have not debuted in the majors. I'm going to bring up Jac Caglianone now.
Okay.
He is not the same as these guys generally here. I think he's the oldest guy that's been discussed so far, even though he's not at AAA and Roman Anthony's at AAA. And Caglianone's also at the same level as Sebastian Walcott. Caglianone's 3 years older than Walcott. So, yeah. He doesn't quite fit the mold of this toolsy up the middle teenager, but he's just been such a machine, really doing kind of everything you want a first base prospect to do against AA pitching. He's not going to be perfect with the hit tool, but I think it's going to be kind of like a Matt Olson type of thing. Maybe some shades of Pete Alonso, but just like a perennial top 5 fantasy first baseman in his prime. I predict at least one 40 homer season for Caglianone, and I wouldn't rule out a 50 homer season from him. And I know they moved him to the outfield a couple weeks ago for his first action in right field. He's played 4 games there. I think his last 2 were at first base. So no guarantee that he's playable in right field and will be up in the super short term, but I think he's going to be one of their best players right next to Bobby Witt for a long time.
Well, one thing we know he's got is the arm for it. I mean, being a pitcher, guy throws 100 miles per hour too. So, I like this pick. I think we're in the range now where we might see some, between the two of us, we might see some surprises, whereas the first 5 were kind of more like, we're probably both going to have them. He's got a ton of power. I think he's a lot more aggressive for the prototypical sort of first base bopper. So if there's any difference between him and like an Olsen or Alonso, I think he's more aggressive than those guys. But I also think he's probably better at making contact. I don't think he's going to strike out like those guys when he gets to his peak ages. He's not going to walk very much, so I don't think he's going to be a big OBP guy. But he doesn't strike out as much either. So I definitely think the home run power is there. I think we're going to see some big numbers there. He was one of those guys. He had a a bit of a rougher debut last season when he came up. And with Scout the Stat Line's peak projections, I mean, of course, we're only analyzing minor league data, and so that hurt him a lot in the rankings. But he's been on fire lately, and just shooting up those rankings. And of course, that happens when you get a small sample to work with too, and all of a sudden the numbers are starting to look good. So, yeah, I'm excited for him. I don't have him quite in my top 10, but I do think he's going to be a very good player, and the upside there is pretty significant in my opinion. So I like him. I like that pick. Yeah, I think 40 home runs is not out of the question for sure, and maybe more.
Yeah, it's so tough to, you don't know, like with these, the 22-year-old college guy at AA mashing, he's doing what he's supposed to do, right? Like, he's putting up better numbers at AA than a lot of guys in that class, a lot of guys from his college class, Braden Montgomery, guys that aren't even at AA yet. So, I would give him the edge over like a Bazana at this point. And I did into the year as well. And so, yeah, to me, it really, like, I liked going to Caglianone here, but like after that one, I have honestly no idea where you're going to go now, because I have kind of a rough outline of where I'm going to go next, but I really don't know where you're going to go.
I'm trying to see if, with Bazana and Kegs, who I had higher in my last update. I'm not real sure off the top of my head. I don't know, but I think in my next update I will have Caglianone higher. So, I did have him higher already. Oh, that gap is going to grow a little bit more.
Do you factor in AFL or spring training stats at all, or just
no? It's just minor league stats. Well, so that's not 100% true. We also incorporate bat speed and barrel percent, and those stats can come from anywhere.
Sure.
Could be from spring training. So like the stats that we use to help inform the model only come from minor league in season. So, but the bat speed, the other things that are kind of like weaved into it as well, that could come from any time. So not really, but some components of it.
All right, well,
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
With Caglianone, I know we're sticking to the non-debuted guys, but who do you have higher between him and Kurtz?
Yeah, I mean, I had him one spot ahead of Kurtz coming into the year. I think I would still take him just slightly. I'm kind of being like a body snob a little bit, but like it's just I've seen both of them in person, and like it's like two different types of specimens, and I think durability wise, I would trust Caglianone more throughout his career. I almost think there's more sort of like Caglianone still sort of developing, and Kurtz is sort of closer to being a finished product. I mean, but like it's like a 50-50 toss up. Like I feel like I get asked this question multiple times a week. I'm sure you do too. And I basically say it's a toss up, but I would take Caglianone.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with your stance between the two. I think Kurtz is probably the more refined product, and Caglianone probably is the more athletic specimen. I think I probably would take Kurtz myself, but you're right. I mean, the gap is really not that big.
I would imagine like statistical model wise, I bet it's tough to not have Kurtz come out on top, but it's kind of, I'm projecting sort of Caglianone to sort of be on sort of a bit more of a upward trajectory than Kurtz.
Yeah, I'm looking at STS right now just to see where the two are, and I do think Kurtz is higher. He is higher. It's not as big as you might think, though, because one of the things that is in benefit of Kurtz's ranking on Scout the Stat Line for our data model is that he made the major leagues. But of course, after making the major leagues and kind of getting that little boost for like, okay, we weave in this probability of like, okay, so if you reach a certain level by a certain age, you're more or less likely to be a successful product. And so the more successful of a product you are, the less regression we are towards like the mean that's applied to the player. And so with that's kind of technical, maybe getting into the weeds too much. But with like a guy like Kurtz, like making the major leagues, that's a huge deal for him. It's a big probability booster. But then if you get into that level and you start struggling, then that's of course going to bring you down. So he had that, like he had a boost, and then it's like he's kind of come down because he's not been hitting quite as well as he was when he was in AAA, of course, when he was just tearing things apart. But the gap is not that big because Cags, he's been on fire, and so he's really rising up right now. Does that mean it's my turn to pick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with another big-bodied, 20-year-old Samuel Basallo. And he might be outside of your top 10. He's still hanging on for me, but he's the next guy that I would have in my list to go. I think he's got immense power. Scout the Stat Line loves this guy. He's currently the number one over Roman Anthony. They kind of been going back and forth. That's why I said I think we'd probably talk about the other one as well. I think he's had a little bit of a slower start to the year. He just hit a home run last night, I think. So I think once he catches fire, like, he's got a tendency to be a real hot hitter once he gets it figured out. So I think that's right around the corner with him.
Yeah, and he was banged up a little bit too. I think statistically, like I love his start. He's got a 194 BABIP. He's got a 194 BABIP and a 104 WRC plus. Like that's you're doing something right.
It bodes well. Yeah, for sure.
So like, yeah, I was wondering when he would get brought up. He's definitely in this mix. He's just he's kind of he's just a freak because of his crazy prodigious power combined with his just massive like frame. It's like I feel like he's physically maturing right before our eyes, and like I wonder what like the body's gonna look like in like 5-6 years, or is he, like how quickly is he just kind of like a DH only type of guy, or like a move to first base. But I think from a 4 category upside standpoint, if you sort of have the playing time like all the same, like he might be like top 5, top 3. Like he's just got such a crazy combination of power potential and an advanced zone control. I mean, he's still 20. He's at AAA. He's a catcher. It's crazy.
Yep. If you could think of a major league comp, who would you go with? Like people toss around Yordan Alvarez for Lazaro Montes, and I kind of think that might apply to Basallo personally.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost I've got like I want to just look at a comp, and I mean he almost sort of has like one of those steroid era like physiques of like I would have to go back to like the 90s or early 2000s and like find a guy because he's just I think Longenhagen has like a Gary Sanchez comp on him. I think he's way better than Gary Sanchez.
he gets a very interesting like high end possibility comp, like 90th percentile outcome on Scout the Stat Line from the data model of Hank Greenberg, which is pretty interesting. Nope, they have him with a 70 for hit tool, a 70 like scout grade equivalency, that's what we call him, and 60 for power. And I think he's got more power than the model thinks. So
I would flip those. I would go.
Agreed.
I don't, honestly, like I know. Yeah, man. I just can't get. I think it's more honestly. I think he's going to be like 50 to 55 grade hit and 70 power. Like that's like I know that the hit tool, like you were saying, it's spitting out a 70 and stuff. I just think he's so big.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it was that. Like if he has a plus hit tool, that would be pretty nuts.
Right.
But I buy the 70 grade power.
Yeah, I think I'm probably along your wavelength with that. I'd probably flip him. I might give him a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt with the hit tool, like maybe a 60, but I think the power is a 70 for sure. And that's kind of how I view it too. 30 home run, 40 home run potential. I mean,
well, I'm gonna go next here. We're now on that was number 7 because Jac Caglianone was 6, Walker Jenkins was 5, Jesus Mate number 4, Leo DeVries number 3, Sebastian Walcott number 2, Roman Anthony number 1. Ross Jensen and I are ranking the top 10 non-debuted prospects, and we've gotten to the point in the exercise where either one of us could throw out somebody the other person wasn't even considering throwing out. I don't think you were planning on throwing out any pitchers. I'm going to throw out Bubba Chandler here. I just think he was my number 1 minor league pitcher coming into the year. I had him behind Sasaki, but ahead of Job. And the only downside at this point is I just think the Pirates are just a mess, and I don't know really what they're doing. I don't know why he isn't up yet. I don't know if they are just kind of like shell shocked from like the Jared Jones injury or what. I just don't know what they're doing. But Bubba Chandler, like the pitcher he is, the readiness he has displayed for the big leagues. I downgrade starting pitchers. I feel like I downgrade them a ton, especially back 5-6 years ago when it was kind of commonplace for people to put like a Mackenzie Gore top 5. Like I never liked that. But I think with the graduations, with the fact that we're talking about non-debuted guys, I'm okay going to Bubba Chandler here at 8 as the first pitcher.
So I've been critiqued a lot for being too low on Bubba Chandler. I finally corrected that because I think it's, I'm a data guy. Like I focus on stats. That's why I got a website called Scout the Stat Line, because that's very heavily a part of my approach. And Bubba Chandler is very clearly a scout over stats guy, or he was. And I think that's changed over the last year and a half or so. So I've come around. I've got him much higher in my last rankings. He is also popping pretty high in our data models as well. So I think we're seeing the results catch up to the scout observations with him. So I agree with you. He should be up. He's got a lot of talent. I have him just below Andrew Painter as far as non-debuted pitchers, but I do think he's an excellent pitcher, and I guess I wouldn't complain if somebody wanted to boost him as their number 1. So
Well, I appreciate that diplomatic response. Yeah, I mean, look, I told like Bubba Chandler could get Tommy John surgery before anyone we've talked about gets to the big league. So like there's an inherent risk there. But I do think there's a pretty special upside. All right, so we got a pitcher off the board. We got 8 non-debuted prospects off the board, Ross. Who do you got for number 9 here?
Okay, now we're getting pretty wild. And I'm really curious to hear what your take is going to be on this next pick of mine, because I'm clearly like high man on this guy. And I think me moving him so aggressively in my rankings surprised a lot of people. I'm going to go with Jesus Mate's teammate, Luis Pena. I think there's just a ton of talent there. He checks pretty much all the boxes for me. The one question I have is how much power is there? I know there's some power there, but is there enough to really be like a huge difference maker? That's the one question mark. But everything else in his profile to me is almost like a dream from an evaluator's perspective. He really doesn't strike out. He's got great contact skills. He's got a ton of speed. In fact, I think the model had him projected for 89 stolen bases or something absurd like that. Without regression, of course. So like you add the regression and it pulls him down a little bit, but he's got a ton of speed. I'm looking at it right now. With the regression, he's projected for 53. The model thinks he's got pretty good power, so a lot of what I'm basing this on is a presumption that the power is there. So the model thinks he could be a 20 home run threat. If you've got a 2050 guy or a 2070 guy, with the upside for a little bit more, maybe Mookie Betts sort of level power, I think that's pretty interesting. So I think I was saying this on X. Maybe he's the guy that we wanted, the player we wanted from Wander Franco. Maybe he can be that, and that's a pretty bold statement, I suppose.
Well, he's got way more speed than Franco ever had.
He does, yeah. But I mean, even Franco coming up, like people thought like there was going to be a lot of speed there. He didn't really ever show it that much, but and then in the major leagues, I think he was like kind of turning into that 30 stolen base threat nonetheless. But people thought there was something there, and Pena's got more of that. So really, I'm thinking like he can fulfill that unfulfilled hope that I think a lot of people had. Hopefully.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, so like, I feel like it's sort of like it's like kind of a Trey Turner almost type of is what you're sort of hoping he turns into, like at least from like a counting stat standpoint.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he's got better contact, or at this time and place, he's got better contact skills than I think Turner did coming up. So,
well, at this time and place, Turner was probably like graduating high school.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's true. I just mean coming up, I guess, is probably a more appropriate way to put it. So I'm hopeful with him that we're going to see even something that maybe is even better, and that's why I've ranked him so aggressively. But we have to wait and see if the power is going to be, as good as I think it can be.
Yeah, Luis Pena, the Brewers' second Carolina Mudcat to go here in this top 10 non-debuted prospects exercise. Certainly, I think it's a perfectly fine pick here with the tight. Like I'm looking at my list of guys, and I think like these are all players who could be traded for Luis Pena, or Luis Pena could be traded for. So, pushing up. If you got Luis Pena, that's pretty cool.
It's maybe the first big surprise out of the group.
Okay, so I have. All right, so that was number 9. So Bubba Chandler was 8. and Luis Pena was 9. So I'm going to be picking our 10th guy here. There's 2 hitters that I like more than the rest of the hitters. I'm just okay. So I'm going to save the more surprising one for later if you don't mention him. But Bryce Eldridge, I know the strikeout rate is high. He just got back from wrist injury, I want to say, that kind of bugged him throughout the spring. But he's hitting the piss out of the ball. It was a wrist injury for Eldridge. Eldridge had a 73.9% hard hit rate when I looked yesterday, which is obviously just tiny sample, but like that's insane. And he's gonna have the highest strikeout rate, I think, of the guys we've discussed. He's gonna hit for the lowest average, I think, of all the guys we've discussed. But I do think he has 70 grade power, and he's probably going to be up. I would say opening day next year. He's is when I kind of expect Eldridge to be up. I don't know if there's going to be a reason or if he'll force the issue later this year to be up. I wouldn't expect him to have success in the big leagues if he were up this year, but kind of taking like a buy low-ish point of view here with Eldridge. I know it's just 11 games, but 31.9% strikeout rate. I think he's just knocking off rust, and there's a power explosion about to happen here with him. But Bryce Eldridge as the 10th prospect taken.
Yeah, I think you nailed that one. I really like Bryce Eldridge. I think he's spot on. He's going to strike out a little bit more than the other guys that we talked about, including Caglianone, in my opinion. And he's got a lot of power. I might probably be a little more optimistic about his hit tool than you even. But I think he's a very interesting player. I have him ranked in my teens, so this is really fitting with the number 10 pick. I like it a lot.
What do you think? What do you think? Like a 25, 26, 27 age years. Like what do you think his batting average is going to be in that range?
If I had to take a guess, I think he could hit around 270, 280. Kind of more in his peak seasons. There's always like the possibility for something asymmetrical to happen, right? Like, I don't think anyone was going to think that Aaron Judge was going to be a perennial 300 hitter or anything, either. So there's always the possibility for something like that to happen. But I kind of see him more in that 270, maybe 280, like sort of peak year outcome.
I could see him being. A lot of these like non-Vlad first basemen just kind of have like sort of big swings year to year. I guess Bryce Harper doesn't really have swings, but those kind of mid-pack year guys. Yeah, like you could hit 265 one year and 235 one year. Like I could see Eldridge being kind of like that maybe. But
so here's what Scout the Stat Line has him at. No regression. So that we're just looking at the raw translation results. 286 batting average, 354 OBP, and a 509 slug. 27 home runs.
Nice. Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's probably a tad less power than I would expect, to be honest.
Yeah, I would boost the power and lower the batting average, but just the fact that it even thinks that type of a batting average is in play is pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm curious if you're going to take the guy. I thought you might take him when you took Pena, but I'm curious to see who you take here because I know we've gotten to 10 guys. I want us to kind of throw out a couple more each, just because I know you probably haven't gotten to your full 10, and I haven't gotten to mine yet.
Okay, so I'm just really loving the Carolina Mudcats, and so my next guy is going to be Braylon Payne.
Wow.
So he would be the next guy I have on my list. My top high school bat from the draft last year. I just think he's a very exciting talent. In fact, before I put together my last rankings, which is about a week ago now, I actually had him higher than Made and Pena. And I course corrected on that, and I kind of came back down to earth with him a little bit. But he's the next guy I would have that on my list that has not yet debuted. I think there's immense upside there, maybe as much as Made has. I don't think his hit tool is quite as good. He strikes out a little bit more too. But I think his power potential is as high. I think his stolen base potential might be higher. So I just think he's a really interesting talent. I love that Mudcats team. It's like the all-star team. They're just sending out the all-star team every day.
I feel like you need to go catch a series or something like that.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been saying this, like, if you live in that area, I hope you are supporting that team because you don't get to see teams like that very often. I was just on a podcast yesterday and we were discussing the same thing. And you know, I think it was the high A affiliate of the Mariners last year. They had a stacked team too, but I think this team is actually better. So I'm excited. And I would definitely be going to games there. Maybe I'll have to. I might just have to book a flight and go watch them.
Yeah, I don't think you would have taken 3 Mariners in this exercise a year ago.
No, I don't think I would have either.
Yeah. Let alone 3 Mariners from that high A team. Well, yeah, with Braylon Payne, there's another outfielder that from the class, and honestly, like, there's a couple shortstops in the class. I'm surprised that Payne came up ahead of all of them. Is he the second FYPD guy then we've talked about behind Caglianone? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, Braylon Payne versus Luis Pena and Jesus Made for like fastest guy on the team.
It's wild.
I think most people, I don't know. I think I'd like to see that race.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know if you have any data on their times or anything. I'd be interested in seeing that. I have not heard anything about it, but yeah, they're all lightning fast. So I
feel like some enterprising reporter with feet on the ground could maybe talk them into doing something.
A foot race. Yeah, I'd pay to see that.
Okay, sure. So that's the 11th guy that we've discussed, Braylon Payne. All right, so I'm gonna talk about one more guy, and then we can kind of move into sort of like rapid fire or just empty the notebook. So this guy doesn't bring a ton of speed to the table, even though he's a shortstop. But I think Arjun Nimmala is in this mix. Yeah. I think the 18.9% strikeout rate for him at high A, like, that's insane. Like this guy was over 30%. I mean, I know that he was way over 30% at single A, then he got sent to complex and came back up and was lower, but he's I would guess the second youngest, or top 5 youngest players at high A, certainly, and doesn't turn 20 until the off season. So he's going to be 19 this entire year. And he's already got 6 homers, 525 slug, and that strikeout rate's below 19%. Like, this is really exciting stuff. And props to, like, I know a lot of people were on Nimmala this off season, and you wanted to see sort of how he would follow up that impressive second half, and Yeah, he's doing it up in Vancouver too. So at 19 years old, very, very, very impressive. I think betting on a shortstop this age that's been this productive, I think is a pretty good recipe.
Yeah, agreed. And props to the STS model for this one, because they were indicating even before the season started that he was somebody that you should be targeting. And I think that it's been proven to be right on the money. Oddly enough, the system sees him as having some of the best power potential of anyone in the minors.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to just view him as just a power monster at shortstop.
Yep.
He's got the whippy bat speed, like adding muscle. Yeah, just all the signs are there of a like number 3 hitting shortstop, basically, who, even though he doesn't have great speed, he's probably going to be on base enough. He'll steal like 8 to 10 bases, and you'll be fine with that.
Yep, agreed. I really like that one. I've got him pretty highly ranked as well, so it's good to see.
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot of exciting guys we haven't dug in on yet. I'll throw out just a few and throw it to you after that. We didn't bring up Connor Griffin. We didn't bring up Bryce Rayner. We didn't bring up Slade Caldwell. Those are my top 3 prep hitters from last year's draft that we haven't discussed yet. And Griffin, like, the power and speed's been there. The hit tool's been kind of as advertised, work to do, but one of the most exciting, like, sort of physical prospects in the minors. Bryce Rayner is just on a tear right now. I think he's got like all 4 of his homers, I think, are this month. I think he hit another one today. Looking like he's got a much better hit tool at this stage of the game than Connor Griffin. So it's just kind of like that pure hitter versus the pure athlete in those two guys. And then Slade Caldwell is walking or striking out over 50% of the time, but he's just dominating when he does decide to swing the bat and make contact. And I think Caldwell's got 30 plus steal upside. So those 3 are some really exciting prep hitters. I thought we'd maybe get to at least one of them before now, but any thoughts on Griffin, Rayner, Caldwell?
I agree with you 100% across the board. I really like Rayner. I just posted about him today. You could see that it was going to come around, even though the numbers were lagging a little bit, and I was just trying to add him everywhere just because you could just tell. And so now we're seeing it. That window seems like it's probably closing if people are paying attention to the statistics. So yeah, I really like him. All those guys, spot on analysis in my opinion. I'm glad you brought up Nimmala in particular. Griffin looks really good too. There's just not really a lot to complain about. I think you're right. There's a little bit of work to do with the hit tool. A couple guys that I want to give a shout out to that they're not necessarily my next guys in the list, but they're just kind of popping up and I just want to mention them. One of them is Arjun Escobar, who is, putting up some pretty video game-ish statistics. So he's fun to,
probably the most discussed prospect on the show so far this season.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, good. We don't need to go into detail then. Eduardo Tate, I think he's got pretty astronomical power potential. And then Asbel Gonzalez, and not so much because I think I don't know if there's any power there whatsoever, but I mean the stolen base potential. Last I checked, he had 30 stolen bases already. I'm sure if he's played any game since then, he's added to that total because let's see, I'm looking him up right now. 31 on the season already, which when I when I saw that, I was like, that can't be real. Like that seems like that would be halfway through the year. So
No,
I think that's just kind of exciting in itself.
Yeah, he gets on first base, he steals it, and then he gets on second base and he steals third base, and
Yep.
he does it again next time he gets on first base. So
yep, and he's hitting 392 and walking more than he's striking out. So you have like a Chandler Simpson type of upside with him, where if he gets on base enough, like he's gonna help win you that category as long as he gets the playing time. The bat's got to be there, because right now there's no power. So
yeah, I mean, I like Escobar. Not surprised that he got brought up, but I don't know if he'll be quite in this range for me on my update, but we'll see. And then like Tate and Gonzalez, like just for the type, like for a catcher and for sort of a speed first type of guy to be at single A, I probably wouldn't bring him up this early, just because it's a ways away, but very exciting. Like Tate among young catching prospects is looks like a phenom, and very good stuff on Ace Bell.
I don't even think I have him as a top 100 guy. I just wanted to talk about it.
Oh, you just wanted to mention it? Well,
so really the only one that's close, even remotely, is Escobar for me, and still, like, there's the guys that I would mention more in our range are Emmanuel Rodriguez. He's off to a slow start, but I think it will turn around eventually. Colt Emerson, again, similar kind of story. They both dropped a little bit just because of their cold starts. Lazaro Montes, to me, is still got a lot of upside, especially with power potential. I know a lot in the industry are lower on him than I am, but he's slugging over 600 right now. So I think that there's, I think he's got that level high A figured out at this point. So, or no, he's at double A now. So no, he's at high A. That's unfortunate.
I think with Montes, like, he just needs to get to double A.
Yeah. So you want to see him move up for sure. He struggled a lot when he first went up to high A last year too. So
yeah, and I'll throw out I think Chase Burns is in this mix now among pitchers. You threw out Andrew Pena. He's certainly in this mix. George Lombard with the Yankees.
Oh yeah.
Zahir Hope and Josue DePaulo with the Dodgers. Felton Celestine with the Mariners, and then Jet Williams. Rebirth. He's healthy. He's swinging the bat a bit more. He's producing. So I just wanted to throw out just guys that by the time my next update comes out in about 3 weeks, any of those five, Lombard, Hope, DePaula, Celestine, Williams, could push kind of up into this range.
Yeah, I like all of those. Those are all really good picks. I noticed that on, I think it was Prospect Larceny's formulated rankings, he had Xavier Isaac extremely high. And I'm just kind of curious what your thought is to the start of the season. He's at double A now. It does look like he's getting on base a ton and hitting for pretty decent power. Do you feel like there's kind of a bit of a rebound there? I feel like he lost a little luster at the end of, or the second half of last year.
Yeah, I think he just sort of had to come down a little based on that strikeout rate at double A, right? Like,
yeah,
41%. Tough to just be paid. Like, I'm keeping him where he is. Like,
yeah, for sure.
I did not expect Xavier Isaac to strike out 31% of the time, let alone 41% of the time at double A. So, but I still love the talent and the potential. So, he missed almost the first month with that elbow thing. So just 11 games for him so far. But, the power is insane with Isaac. I just hope he kind of develops those swing decisions to really maximize it. But he could. He's just still 21. He's gonna be 21 all season. So I think
so shout out.
Him and Montes, I think, are linked to me. Like I think of him and Montes similarly. Whereas like Isaac's at AA, we're seeing the strikeout rate in that range.
Yeah.
Montes, I kind of think it would be in that range too if he were up there.
I agree with that. Two other guys I want to mention because I really like them. I've got them very high as well. Are Kevin McGonigal and Franklin Arias. McGonigal has been injured, but Arias is playing and he's hitting like he's just a hit machine. And I posted about him today. Just even when he's not showing the power, like today he was 3 for 5. He's a hit machine.
Yeah, totally. And McGonigal, good name to bring up. I mean, probably would have played his way into being discussed sooner if he hadn't been hurt. Yep. Ross, why don't you let everyone know where they can follow along with what you got going on?
Okay, so you can find me on X, formerly Twitter, at Ross Jensen 12. Of course, I am an owner and part of the leadership group of 2 organizations. Scout the Stat Line is kind of my little baby project. You can follow them on Twitter at Statline Scout. And of course, go to our website, scoutthestatline.com. It's a membership-based system, but the model is extremely helpful. Most people rave about its ability to help pinpoint prospects and give them an advantage in their dynasty leagues if that's what they're going for. A lot of people use it for card collecting too. So there's a lot of different uses for it. If you just want to keep up with prospects, that could also be a use. So please check us out there. Prospects Live is my other project that I've more recently gotten involved with starting this year. Really excited to be there. The talent there is next level. So check us out at Prospects Live on X or www.prospectslive.com. Incredible content there. They just recently did, in fact, this is free right now, so this is a great plug. Go check it out. They have a MLB mock draft simulator that you can go and you can do your own mock drafts. You can pick for as many teams as you want within the first 5 rounds, and you can read scouting reports on all the players. And it's just a lot of fun to play around with. It's just a little tool that you can utilize, and it's just a blast. So go check it out. Prospects Live. A lot of good stuff happening there.
Great stuff, Ross. Well, this has been a lot of fun, man. I think we talked about all the very, very best non-debuted prospects. And for anyone that is interested, I'll have all the names of the guys we went into depth about in the show notes. Yeah, this has been great. And Roto 15, if anyone needs a RotoWire subscription ahead of the update to the top 400 prospect rankings, which will be later this month. Thanks again.
Can't wait, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.